The night before Brianna Aguilera died, she was excited like any other college student planning a fun weekend trip. She was only 19, a Texas A&M student, young, energetic, and full of dreams. That Saturday, she traveled to Austin with her friends. The big game, Texas A&M versus Texas Longhorns, had the whole city awake and alive. People filled the streets, music echoed everywhere, and Brianna was right there in the mix, smiling, celebrating, and ready for a memorable night. But what happened between her excitement and her mysterious death is still unclear, and that is where the story begins. Brianna's mother later said she couldn't reach her for several hours before the game. It was unusual, but she didn't panic at first. College kids sometimes get busy. But what she did not know was that this silence would soon become the start of a nightmare. After the game ended, Brianna and some friends went to an apartment building in Austin. The unit was on the 17th floor. According to the few details available, around 15 people were in that apartment. Some people knew each other. Some didn't. The environment was loud, casual, and full of drinks and conversations. But who Brianna argued with, who she trusted, and who she feared, none of that is clear yet. At around 11 p.m., Brianna was still seen alive. Her mother later released photos showing her standing on the balcony earlier that day, wearing cowboy-style boots. She looked calm and unaware of the danger that waited only a few hours later. What happened inside that apartment remains a mystery. Her mother claims Brianna wasn't answering her phone, something she never did unless something was wrong. Friends later said she was quiet, not acting like herself. Maybe she felt uncomfortable. Maybe she noticed something off. Or maybe she sensed danger but kept it inside. Around midnight, neighbors heard a disturbing sound. Not a scream, but a heavy thud, like something hitting the ground with terrible force. Moments later, a passerby walking near the building noticed something that made him stop. A body. A girl. Still. Not moving. It was Brianna. He immediately called 911 at around 1 a.m. Shockingly, no one from the apartment reported it. Not a single call from the people who were just inside the room she fell from, or was pushed from. Paramedics arrived, but there was nothing they could do. A 17-story fall gives no second chances. Her mother, miles away, still thought maybe Brianna would call back and apologize for being busy. Instead, she received news that shattered her life. Police arrived and began their early investigation. At first glance, they believed there was no evidence of homicide. But that conclusion raised far more questions than answers. How does a 5 feet 2 inches girl fall over a balcony railing? Why was she alone at that moment? Why did no one see or hear anything? Why didn't anyone inside call for help? Why did some people leave the apartment immediately after? The unanswered questions began piling up faster than the police statements. Later that same day, a TikTok video went viral. A man claimed he heard a girl yelling, "Get the F** off me." *** near the same time Brianna died. He hadn't seen anything, but that voice stuck in his mind. It wasn't proven, but it matched the fear Brianna's family felt deep inside. Her mother refused to believe it was an accident. She knew her daughter. She knew Brianna would never jump. She said, "Someone killed my Bri." She also pointed out that Brianna was fragile, thin, and couldn't handle alcohol well. If she was intoxicated, was she pushed? If she had an argument, did someone shove her during a fight? Or was it something darker, jealousy, anger, or a moment of violent rage? The police continued the investigation, but the family felt ignored. They felt the story inside the apartment was rehearsed, controlled, prepared. They believed the people involved had coordinated their statements before calling the police, or maybe before not calling the police. But Brianna's mother wouldn't accept silence. She would not let her daughter become another case forgotten by paperwork. The world began watching, waiting, and questioning. Because a fall from the 17th floor is not just a fall. It is a story with too many missing pieces. And it was only the beginning. When the sun rose the next morning, the city of Austin continued its normal routine. Cars moved, people walked to work, and the noise of everyday life returned. But for one family, everything had stopped. Brianna's mother woke up expecting a message from her daughter. Maybe a "Good morning, Mom," or maybe a selfie from the game, something cheerful. Instead, she received the kind of news every parent fears but never imagines will actually come true. The call informed her that Brianna had died. No details, no explanation, just a sudden, sharp reality that her daughter was gone. She froze, unable to understand how her happy, energetic child could be dead. She had just spoken to her earlier. She had just seen her smile in a photo. How could that same girl be gone forever? The first thing she felt was disbelief. The second was fear. And the third was suspicion. She asked the only question any mother would ask: how? The answer she received was vague. They told her there was a fall. They told her there was no sign of homicide. But no one told her why a 19-year-old would fall from a 17th-floor balcony. No one explained why no one inside that apartment had seen anything or called for help. No one explained why a complete stranger on the street had been the one to report her daughter's body. Her heart immediately told her something was wrong. She rushed toward Austin, her hands shaking the entire drive. She replayed moments from Brianna's life in her mind: her first day at school, her first day of college, her favorite songs, her laugh. And then she replayed the last few days: Brianna not answering her phone, Brianna sounding tired earlier that week, Brianna mentioning that some people in college didn't treat her right. Every memory suddenly felt like a clue. When she reached the area where Brianna had fallen, she saw nothing but a taped-off space and a few police officers standing around. The scene was cold and empty, as if her daughter's life had already been reduced to a report number. She walked closer, trying to imagine what Brianna saw in her final moments. Did she cry? Was she scared? Was she fighting for her life? Or did she trust someone who betrayed her? Police told her again, "It doesn't look like homicide." But to her, that sentence felt like another wall blocking the truth. She asked them about the people in the apartment. She asked what they had said. She asked who was with Brianna last. But the answers were short, incomplete, and filled with phrases like "we are still looking into it and we can't share that right now." To a mother, that kind of silence is louder than a scream. And then came the viral video. A man on TikTok claimed he heard a girl shouting around the same time of Brianna's fall. He said he heard, "Get the F*** off me." His voice in the video was trembling, as if he, too, didn't know what to believe. Her mother watched it again and again. Each time, she imagined Brianna saying those words. The anger, the fear, the struggle. And if that voice truly belonged to her daughter, then the truth was far darker than no homicide. Her mother spent hours talking to people who knew Brianna, trying to piece together her final night. She learned from someone that Brianna might have argued with another girl. There were rumors about jealousy, about a boyfriend, about a fight that started small but grew heated. She learned that Brianna wasn't drinking much because alcohol made her sick. She learned that she was quiet that night, not her usual cheerful self. Some even said she looked uncomfortable, like she wanted to leave. But why didn't she leave? Was she scared? Was she blocked from leaving? Or was she trying to calm a situation before it escalated? Later, her mother learned something else, something that broke her heart even more. The person who lived in the apartment where Brianna fell from had packed their things and left almost immediately after the incident. No explanation. No statement to the family. Just gone. To Brianna's mother, that was not normal behavior. People do not run unless they have something they want to escape from. She also learned that someone inside the apartment had moved Brianna's belongings before police arrived. They took her phone inside. They took her purse. They cleaned things. Why would anyone touch a dead girl's belongings? Why would they change anything at a scene where someone had just fallen to their death? Every detail added another layer of doubt. The police insisted that there were no signs of struggle inside the apartment. They said the balcony railing was normal height. They said investigations take time. But her mother had her own questions. Brianna was only 5 feet 2 inches. The railing was high. How could she accidentally fall over it? And why would she be on the balcony so late at night unless something forced her outside? Her mother also remembered something important. Brianna hated heights. She never leaned over tall balconies. She always stayed a few steps back. If she was on that balcony, it wasn't her choice. Her mother visited the medical examiner's office, asking about toxicology, bruises, marks, anything that could tell the real story. But those answers wouldn't come for weeks. And every hour that passed without answers felt like another cut to her soul. To the public, the story was tragic. To the family, it was torture. People commented online, debating whether it was an accident, murder, or something in between. Some created theories, others attacked the mother for speaking out. But she did not care about strangers' opinions. She only cared about her daughter. She kept Brianna's photos in her hands. She kept thinking about the last conversation they ever had. She kept repeating the same sentence: "This wasn't an accident." Even in the middle of her grief, she became stronger. She spoke to reporters. She posted online. She contacted detectives again and again. She refused to let the case go quiet. Because she knew quiet was the enemy of the truth. Brianna's death was a mystery. But mysteries only exist until someone refuses to stop searching. Her mother was that someone. And she wasn't going to stop. As the days passed, Brianna's story spread across social media faster than anyone expected. People were confused, angry, emotional, and deeply invested in finding out what had really happened that night. Her mother kept sharing memories, photos, and details about her daughter, hoping that someone, somewhere, would come forward with information. She did not want Brianna's voice to fade away. But while the world talked, investigators worked quietly in the background. The Austin Police Department released a short statement at first, one that felt cold and incomplete. It said there was no evidence of homicide. It said the case showed no suspicious circumstances. But the statement only made the public more curious, and it made the family even more frustrated. After thousands of comments and questions, the police released a second, longer statement. They said the case was still open. They said detectives were interviewing witnesses, reviewing footage, and collecting evidence. But the most important part was the same: they still claimed there was no sign of foul play. That one sentence kept Brianna's mother awake at night. She replayed it again and again. How could there be no sign of foul play when so much about the night made no sense? It wasn't just a fall, it was the way people behaved afterward. It was the silence, the running, the cleaning, the disappearing, the inconsistent stories. No mother could ignore those things. She began searching for her own answers. She contacted the parents of students who knew Brianna, hoping someone would confess something their child had heard. She drove to the apartment building again, standing outside the 17 floors of concrete, looking up, trying to feel what Brianna might have felt in her final moments. The wind felt stronger up there. The railing was high. And as she stared at the building, she whispered to herself, "Someone pushed her. I know it." The building management refused to give her certain details. They had rules, they said. She needed official permissions. The world around her seemed full of barriers, but she pushed through anyway. People online started sending her screenshots, messages, rumors, tips, some helpful, others painful. Some said Brianna was arguing that night. Some said she was crying. Some said she wanted to go home but no one helped her. A few claimed they saw bruises. But none of these pieces were confirmed. Still, every rumor added weight to her suspicion. One of her biggest fears was that someone inside the apartment might have locked the door to the balcony to trap Brianna outside. Or maybe they tried to pull her away from the railing, but not hard enough. Or maybe someone was holding her down until she lost balance. The questions haunted her more than any nightmare. Late at night, she scrolled through Brianna's phone records and social media comments. She tried to find someone who might have been jealous of her daughter. Maybe a girl who saw Brianna as competition. Maybe someone who hated her for something small. Or maybe a boy who liked her too much. Brianna's mother remembered her daughter mentioning that sometimes boys wouldn't take no for an answer, especially at parties. The possibility that someone at the apartment had grabbed her, touched her, or hurt her made her heart burn with anger. She knew Brianna was not someone who would lean over a balcony. Even when she was relaxed, she stayed far back from edges. Brianna was careful. She was aware of her surroundings. If she fell, it wasn't because she was careless. Meanwhile, retired NYPD Detective David Sani, someone with decades of experience, spoke publicly about the case. He didn't accuse anyone, but he said one thing clearly: every unexplained death must be treated like a homicide until proven otherwise. And that was exactly what Brianna's mother had been begging for. He mentioned the importance of reviewing surveillance cameras. The building had many. He talked about the need to check Brianna's phone, her messages, her last calls. He emphasized interviewing everyone inside that apartment thoroughly, especially the ones who left early. His words gave the family hope. Finally, someone who understood the depth of the situation. But while the family fought, Brianna's friends struggled to cope. They posted videos crying, sharing stories of how kind and sweet she was. They talked about her dreams, her jokes, her kindness. One friend said Brianna always stayed calm, even when others got angry. Another said she always helped people who were sad. Hearing these stories broke the mother even more, because she realized how much the world had lost. The hardest part was waiting for the medical examiner's report. Toxicology. Bruise analysis. Injuries. Everything that could finally give a clue about what really happened. But these reports took weeks. And each day stretched into a month of pain. During this time, Brianna's mother remembered small things, things that seemed unimportant before, but now felt meaningful. She remembered Brianna saying, "Sometimes I feel like people take advantage of me because I'm quiet." She remembered her being nervous about certain people on campus. She remembered her being unsure about going to Austin, but excited for the game. When a person dies mysteriously, every memory becomes a puzzle piece. The silence of the people from the apartment spoke the loudest. Not one of them reached out to the family. Not one person said, "I'm sorry." Not one person explained what Brianna did in her last hour of life. Instead, they acted like the incident was something they wanted to erase from their minds. And maybe that was the biggest red flag of all. In the middle of all this, Brianna's mother visited the exact spot where her daughter's body had been found. She knelt down, touched the ground, and cried in silence. She wished she could hear Brianna's voice one more time. She wished she could go back and call her daughter sooner. She wished she could have saved her. But there was no going back. Only forward. And the truth was somewhere out there, hidden behind fear, lies, silence, and unanswered questions. Her mother made one promise to herself that night: "I will not stop. I will not let them hide what happened." And with that promise, the search for justice grew stronger. The police officers stood quietly inside the small investigation room, staring at the board filled with photos, maps, and phone records. The case had become far more complicated than anyone expected. What started as a missing person report had now turned into a web of secrets, lies, and unexpected connections. Everyone in the room could feel the weight of it. They knew they were close to the truth, but they also knew the truth might be darker than they imagined. The investigation team began reviewing every detail again. They replayed the voice messages, checked the call logs, and studied the last known movements of the victim. Every moment of the day she disappeared was mapped out. But there was one detail that kept repeating itself. Every witness said she looked scared, lost, and deeply stressed in the final hours before she vanished. The police finally traced the location of the last phone signal. It led them to an old abandoned storage area on the outskirts of the city. The place looked empty, with rusted metal doors and broken windows. The officers moved carefully, searching every corner. The silence was heavy, broken only by the echo of their footsteps. Then one officer found a piece of cloth stuck on a nail. It matched the clothes the victim was wearing on the day she disappeared. This was the first solid evidence, and it gave the team new energy. They searched harder, checking every room, every shadow, every forgotten box. As they moved deeper inside the building, they discovered old security cameras. Most of them were broken, but one had a small blinking light. The officers quickly pulled out the memory card and sent it for analysis. If the camera captured anything, it could be the key to solving the entire case. When the footage was finally recovered, the entire team gathered around the monitor. The video quality was low, but it was clear enough to see a figure entering the building late at night. The victim was with someone the police did not expect to see. It was a person they had already interviewed earlier, someone who had acted innocent and cooperative. The room went silent. This discovery changed everything. The team decided to bring that person in again, but this time, for interrogation. When the officers confronted them with the video footage, their confident behavior faded. Their hands trembled, their voice cracked, and within minutes, cracks appeared in their story. After hours of questioning, the truth finally came out. The person admitted they were with the victim that night, but they insisted they were not responsible for her disappearance. They claimed they were trying to help her, that she was afraid of someone else. The victim had told them she was being followed and that she didn't feel safe. This new information created even more confusion. If they weren't the culprit, then who was the real threat the victim feared? The police traced the next lead, a second unknown person who contacted the victim on the same night. Phone records showed repeated calls from the same number, but the phone was switched off immediately after the disappearance. Using digital forensics, the officers identified the owner of the number, and this time, the name shocked them again. It was someone very close to the victim's personal life, someone who had a motive fueled by jealousy and anger. The officers followed the trail to a hidden farmhouse outside the city. The place was isolated, surrounded by fields and old trees. When they knocked on the door, there was no response. They entered slowly, searching each room with their flashlights. Finally, in the basement, they found what they were looking for. A broken phone. A piece of jewelry. A notebook filled with emotional messages and threats. The truth was now clear. Everything the victim had feared was real. The suspect tried to escape through the back door, but the officers were already prepared. The arrest was made quietly but firmly. The case had finally found its direction. The victim was rescued shortly after. She was weak, scared, and shaken, but alive. She told the officers how she had been trying to escape from the suspect for weeks, how she trusted the wrong people, and how everything spiraled out of control on the night she disappeared. The police assured her she was safe now. With the suspect in custody and evidence secured, the case came to a close. The officers who worked tirelessly on the case felt relief for the first time in days. They knew there were still legal steps ahead, but the major breakthrough was done. As the sun rose that morning, shining through the windows of the police station, the victim finally smiled, a small but powerful smile. She knew her life would take time to return to normal, but she also knew she had survived something many don't. Her courage and the determination of the officers ensured justice was finally in motion. And with that, the case that kept the entire city on edge was finally solved.